Hey everyone, welcome to the Hornet King channel, and in this video I'll be removing a absolutely massive German yellow jacket colony from an old schoolhouse. This nest was absolutely massive and had over 5,000 yellow jackets inside the colony, and I vacuum everybody up and bring the nest home and feed it to my animals. My 2 emus, my rhea, my 8 chickens, and my squirrel. Here's the video, check it out. I'm the Hornet King, and I removed some incredible and insane wasp nests. So this was a really interesting old building. This was an old schoolhouse that someone had turned into a home. And unfortunately, when it comes to old buildings like this, even old thick stone walls, there's a lot of avenues for wasps to be able to get in to start their colonies. So this particular queen found her way in through this old stone and then behind the plaster and lath wall on the inside of the house. So I just cut into the drywall. It was actually plaster and lath and then drywall on the outside. So I cut through that with my Sawzall right into the nest. I could hear where it was inside that cavity before cutting. And once I heard all that activity, that's when I make my first cut. Now, whenever I do plaster and lath cutting, I have to be really, really careful with the Sawzall because the teeth of the Sawzall will actually rip the lath and it'll rip it out of the wall and it'll crack it all up. But the client actually said, hey, I'm going to be actually removing all of this plaster and lath and putting out drywall anyway in the entire house. So it didn't matter what I did. But either way, I try to make it as clean as I can. But I'm sure I'll get a bunch of contractors in the comments telling me how I did it wrong. But hey, I'm the expert. So anyhow, so I started removing this nest. Once I pulled that plug out, they were just going everywhere. They were all inside the room. They were right at the window. So luckily there's a window right in front of me. And that's where the majority of them went, was right up to that window. So I would just periodically just vacuum off any of the yellow jackets that were on the glass. So when you start to remove a nest like this, they are really well bonded together. Each layer of comb is supported by a little structure that keeps all the comb together, so I can't just pull them apart. So I have to take the Sawzall blade and kind of saw through each of those supports so I can separate the comb and pull them out bit by bit. I don't really care to do it this way because when you do separate the layers of comb, you release a lot more yellow jackets from between the layers. But if you pull it out all in one piece, they kind of all stay in between the layers. So then I can just pick them apart once it's out of the cavity and vacuum them up more meticulously. So that way they're not flying all around the room. But when it comes to a certain situation, you don't really want to be cutting big holes and things. It just makes sense to just saw the comb apart and pull them apart bit by bit within the wall cavity. And look at the size of this part of it. This is the bottom 2 comb were actually queen cells, so there was hundreds of new queens that would have been hatching out of this nest. And then inside of here is all the paper envelope, and mixed in with the paper envelope are a bunch of workers in between all of that material. So I just take the vacuum to shove it down in there and start vacuuming up. Now you have to appreciate this is like construction paper. So when people say, oh, you need a stronger vacuum, so that way it just sucks all of that out, there is no way you're going to get a different vacuum that's going to be better than this, than what I do. So what I'm actually doing is taking the nozzle itself and breaking up the paper so it turns it into shreds, and then the vacuum suction itself actually pulls all that material out in little tiny shards. If you pulled it out all in one piece, you'll clog the vacuum, which is I'm definitely trying not to do. It still happens every now and then, and I have to mess with the hose and mess with the nozzle so that way it actually sucks into the canister. But when I do it this way, I actually avoid having any clogs, which is great. But that's a comment that I get all the time. You know, the experts, all the other contractors, oh, get a stronger vacuum. Well, suction angle is something I consider when I buy my vacuums. So I get the smaller nozzle so that way I get more suction angle. You can't put an attachment. You can't put a funnel on the end of the nozzle to vacuum up more yellow jackets. That's not how it works. That's not the physics of suction. So just let the expert do what he's doing. That makes the most sense. But yeah, so oftentimes when I'm doing these removals, I won't just vacuum all the envelope. If there's a ton of envelope inside that cavity, I'll actually just reach my hand down inside and pull out the envelope. But then you see my hand gets covered in yellow jackets. They're stinging my gloves and they're all latched all over me. So sometimes I do a little bit of both, like in this case. But still, down inside of there, even if I've pulled out several handfuls of envelope, I vacuumed up a bunch inside of there, there's still thousands of yellow jackets in that cavity. And it's always incredible, like when you're pulling out all this envelopes, like they're just hunkered down inside of that stuff. And you're just vacuuming and vacuuming, vacuuming, vacuuming. So that's why these removals usually take me anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how big the colony is. Now, this is being a later season colony, which means it developed further into the season. So obviously, a lot more workers have hatched. That means a lot more workers have built onto the nest. So it does take a little bit longer for me to do these removals later in the season. But for the most part, it usually takes anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. Now, I own the business, and I do all the removals myself, so it's of no effect to me. When I schedule out my day and I do 12 removals in a day, yeah, it's faster for some pest control companies to just come out and powder, and they leave within 5 minutes. But the thing is, when it comes to a nest like this, no powder or pesticide would have even touched this colony. So they would have been out 5 or 6 times, and the client's paying for that over and over and over again. It's better to hire a professional, an expert in wasps like myself to come out and actually remove these nests. And that way you're not hiring somebody over and over again to come out and do the same job and still fail at it. And then they end up calling someone like myself anyway. When I come out, I locate the nest right away. I cut a hole in the wall and pull it all out. And this is how it was when I was done. Even though the guy said he was ripping all the drywall down, I still patched the drywall in place and just put some tape around it. So that way any individual coming back into the space can't get into the living space. And then I just go around all the rooms and the windows, and I start vacuuming everybody off the windows. There's none just like crawling around underneath furniture and stuff. Like, they literally go to the light. They go to the windows and they consolidate there. You can see all the clumps of them and things. And there were some queens in there, so some queens had hatched out of this nest. And again, since it was later in the season, so they just go to the windows and then I vacuum them up. I would say probably in this colony there was well over 5,000, maybe even 7,000 yellow jackets in this colony, which for German yellow jackets, that's a great size colony. So as usual, I bring the nest home and feed them to my animals, my chickens, my emus, my rhea, and my squirrels.
Come on, little birdies. Come on out of the rain. Come on. Dip, 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 dip. Come on, little birdies. Come on out of the rain. Come on. Come on. That's it. Stay out of the rain, little birdies. They're a bunch of nice little pesky birdies. Is that good, birdies? Is that good, little birdies? You flipped it over here. Let me help you. Let me help you. Let me just help you. Here. That's it. These are all the same age, but that black one is massive. This is Aunt Jessie. And that's Uncle Becky. Alright, birdies. Enjoy your nests. Come along, birdies. Doris! Hello, Doris! It's a wet, nasty day, Doris. Hello, Doris. Don't mind the flashlight. I need to be able to see you. Oh, wee wee. Oh, sweetie birdie. I know, you're a big lady now. Look at that bosom sway in the wind. Hello, Doris. Oh, wee wee. Come on, birdies. Come on, birdies. Come on, Doris. Here. What a nice bunch of pesky booties. Come on. Oh, sweetie birdie. If you weren't so stubborn, you can come over and have some.
Alright, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to check out this video. If you guys enjoyed this content, drop in the comments, let me know what you think. If you have any suggestions for future videos, something like to see me covered in an upcoming video, also drop in the comments, let me know. If you guys haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so and hit that bell notification down below, and that way you guys get an update anytime I do post a video. Alright, everyone, thanks so much for tuning in to check out this video and supporting my channel, and I'll catch you on the next video.